Matthew says, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword. John's like, it was Peter. Don't worry. Welcome to another study of the life of Christ. Today, Jesus gets betrayed, arrested, and crucified. We have been we looked last week at Jesus' Passion Week. Probably one of the most, it covers so much scripture is on this week of Jesus' life. Super major important, the last week of Jesus' life on earth before he was killed. And so much happened. So much teaching is recorded. It's hard to cover all this. Kind of covered it by day. Where did we leave Jesus, though, last week? Where is he?
The Last Supper.
No.
In the garden.
In the garden. So we left Jesus in the garden. What is Jesus doing in the garden? Praying and grieving and having anxiety about what's happening
And
next.
The disciples fell asleep.
And what are the disciples doing?
Snoring.
Jesus asked them to pray with him, and they are not. They are sleeping. It is the middle of the night, but Jesus asked them to stay alert with him and pray. Jesus knows what is coming. What is coming?
His death.
His death, his crucifixion,
His death.
and specifically, who is coming to get him? Judas. So Jesus knew Judas was betraying him. In fact, did Jesus try to stop Judas?
Nope.
No.
He actually said go.
Yeah, he actually sent him, go and do what you have to do. So Jesus knew that this was God's plan and this was God's will. Did Jesus want to go through this? No. He's praying in the garden. If there's another way, please, God, could there be another way? But he was still willing to submit to God's will and to go through all this. I don't know exactly, probably all the things were on Jesus' mind, but like the heaviness of going through, crucifixion, the heaviness of taking the sins of the world on himself, the heaviness of dealing with, betrayal and the trials and the physical pain he was about to go through. But yeah, all of it was on Jesus' mind, and it wasn't something he was looking forward to or excited about. So we find Jesus in Gethsemane, in the garden, which is just outside of Jerusalem to the east. And Jesus is there. He's praying. It's the middle of the night. Now, why do trials and arrests and things happen in the middle of the night?
They wanted to say secret.
Yes. There's actually Old Testament laws about this. What are the Jewish leaders afraid of most of all? Are they afraid of Jesus? They're not afraid of Jesus. They're afraid of the people, the crowd's reaction. So arresting Jesus in the middle of the night, they couldn't arrest him when the crowds were there because it'd be a mob and they'd probably get run over and Jesus would escape. So this is why they hired Judas to betray Jesus, is so that they could find him when he's all alone in a quiet place and they could arrest him there. They didn't want the large crowds to be around. So Judas leads them in the middle of the night. He knows where Jesus is going to be in this place, and he leads them. So John 18, we're there, verse 2. Now Judas, who betrayed him, knew the place because Jesus had often met there with his disciples. So that's why Judas knew about this place. So Judas came into the grove, guiding a detachment of soldiers, some officials from the chief priests and Pharisees. They were carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons. Verse 4, Jesus, knowing all that was going to happen to him, went out to them and asked them, "Who is it you want?" Okay, so notice, John here has a bunch more details that the other Gospels don't have. This is crazy. Jesus, knowing all that was going to happen, went out to them and said, "Who is it you want?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said.
What happens?
verse 6. When Jesus said, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground. Okay? So there's like a soldiers, tough guys with torches and weapons and clubs. Jesus, with his words, knocks them all down. Only John records that. It's crazy. But like, I am he, and they all get knocked down. I don't know, there was power in that.
Totally. He's
And
like
God's voice of, like God
like
can
Lord
create
Hammer.
worlds, like boom, not like, this is craziness. Only John records this. It's surprising. So, different, there's kind of some, now if you go over to the next page, 213, you see some different accounts. Some, like Luke says that Judas tried to kiss Jesus. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked, so the kiss got interrupted from Luke's perspective. Matthew and Mark have the kiss happening. So, like we said, these are perspectives from different people. Maybe Luke didn't see the kiss that had happened. He just saw that, the details. John doesn't record the kiss at all. So, how the kiss went down, it looked like from Matthew and Mark's perspective, the kiss happened. Luke wasn't there, so, who he's interviewing. So you just see the differences, right, in the story. So the kiss happens. Judas betrays Jesus. Like, this is interesting. Why didn't they have, like, why did Judas need to kiss Jesus to betray him?
They
To
didn't
like
know what Jesus
say goodbye.
No, it was to show which one was Jesus.
Yeah. So
But that
Jesus,
just seems so weird.
it does seem weird. Like, why didn't they have a picture of Jesus? Well, they didn't
How
have
was there a
cameras.
prophecy about kissing him?
There is.
That's
Like, you
why.
betray the man. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Addie. So, like, it is to identify who and then signal to the guard, like, this is the guy. This is Jesus. But it does seem odd. Like, don't they know who he is, what he looks like? But what is clear is that there was nothing special about Jesus. Jesus wasn't wearing a special hat or a fancy robe or something. He wasn't, the guy, it's the guy in white with the blue sash. Don't you know from the flannel graph? That's the one you want. So, like, he just looked like one of the disciples, which is also interesting. He was just one of them. So Judas betrays him, and then the disciples are like, is this our chance? Because Jesus had earlier talked about, like, there will come a time when you need swords. So it's interesting because not all of them say who. Not Matthew, Mark, and Luke are not rats. Who's the rat?
Peter.
The rat?
The rat?
He calls out who did it. Which one?
Peter!
John does.
Is that like...
John says, then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant. It says, Mark says, then one of those standing near, and Matthew says, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword. John's like, it was Peter. Don't worry, it was Peter.
John's also like, he's
Yeah,
not
no,
gonna
what,
say his
also
name.
the one that outran Peter to the two.
Yes, John also outran Peter. I don't know. There's some something going on between John and Peter.
I also just
It's
think,
totally
like,
okay.
the way his brain is, he's like, he seems a little, like, interesting details.
Why do you think the other
Massive
writers
ego.
did not name Peter?
Do you think...
Because they didn't
To
want
not
to
shame
say
him.
were Peter. They didn't want
They didn't implicate him in a crime.
They didn't want to have
No, sure he did.
I mean, it doesn't make the other ones wrong. They just said Peter was one.
I mean,
But
cutting off the ear of a Roman soldier would
Actually, it's the high
would
priest's servant.
yes, it's actually a Jewish soldier. It's actually the Jewish high priest's servant. But yeah, but what does Jesus
still
do? Peter
Heals
cuts
it.
off the ear. What does Jesus
Force heals
do?
it.
He heals it. He picks it up off the ground and puts it
Takes
back
the ear
on.
off the ground?
Yeah.
I thought you just made a new ear.
No.
That's gross.
Where is it?
Maybe he's spitting it first.
5 second rule.
Yes.
That's disgusting.
Those who live by the sword will die by the sword. Okay? But all this happened to fulfill, Addie, what it must say. It must happen
prophecy.
this way. It fulfills the prophecy. Jesus says, why do you come to me? There's too much talking. Why do you come to me with swords and clubs? Like, I was out in the courtyard speaking. You could have got me there. But all this happened that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled.
See, it just says he touched the man's ear and healed him.
Oh, okay. You're right.
Yeah.
No, he picks up his bloody ear off the ground and he sews it back on.
You're right. Okay. I thought he picked it up off the ground. You're right. He touches it and heals it. Did he pick it up? I don't know. Okay.
So the man has a third ear now.
Yeah, there's an ear on the ground.
One on the
Maybe.
ground and 2 on his head.
Okay,
That's gross.
then what happens? What do the disciples do next?
It's an open book test.
Is that the same short?
Matthew, turn the page, Matthew 56.
People say it differently.
What do the disciples do?
Someone can read it and find out. I know the answer.
I'm looking and I can't find the answer.
They pray. I don't know. I'm guessing.
No.
It's worse.
Here.
It's terrible. It's so terrible.
They left.
They ran away!
They run away, okay? So, here's what I want you to pay attention to.
They deserted him.
In the upper room, Peter's like, I will die with you. I will defend you. We will not, like Jesus
We will
saying
just
that
run away.
you're going to be killed. And the disciples are like, no, we're not going to let anyone kill you. And then Peter, yeah, he pulls out his sword. He's willing to fight and die for Jesus. But then he's totally like, Jesus says, stop. This isn't what we're doing. He heals the guy that he just attacked. He was probably aiming for his head. He probably missed, hit the ear. But this is a confusing time for the disciples. And if they're not getting arrested, they're just out, right? Like there was a moment they were willing to fight back, and then now, well, I guess we're not fighting, so they run. So they scatter. This is also kind of sad because they were so with him, especially Peter was so committed to being with him. Now, Jesus is arrested, he's carried off. We're going to try to follow all the places he goes. This night is a busy night for Jesus. He's being taken to all different kinds of little trials, and it's craziness. So first, write all these things down. First, he goes to Annas' house. Annas is the father-in-law of the high priest. He also has probably been the high priest before. They do it a year at a time. So first he's brought to Annas, the courtyard. Annas asks him, questions him about his disciples and his teaching. And he's like, basically Jesus' response is, why are you doing this in the middle of the night? I've been openly teaching out in the courtyard. I've said everything. I have nothing to hide. Okay? And then one of the officials comes by and punches him in the face. He says, when Jesus said this, because he's asking about him what he said, why question me? Ask those who heard me. Surely they know what I said. When Jesus said this, one of the officials nearby struck him in the face. Is this the way you answer the high priest? He demanded. Jesus says, if I said something wrong, Jesus replied, testify what was wrong, but I spoke the truth. Why did you strike me? So Jesus is trying to speak plainly. He's like, I've nothing to hide. They hit him. Then they take him to Caiaphas. So now, first from the high priest's father-in-law courtyard to now Caiaphas' house. Caiaphas' house is still standing. It's amazing. You can still go there. You can see this spot where, like, he would interview prisoners. There's literally a hole in the floor so that Caiaphas wouldn't be unclean by being by a murderer. He would likely talk to Jesus through this hole in the floor. I've been there. It's amazing. There's also like a holding cell where they put prisoners that maybe Jesus was put in. And there's also this courtyard. So this courtyard outside is where Peter was. Those who arrested, I'm in Matthew 26:57. Those who arrested Jesus took him to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the teachers of the law and elders had assembled. So this is still the middle of the night. Everybody's gotten out of bed to try to have a trial for Jesus. This is not normal. Trials should be public things. They're doing this in secret so that no one will know about it, so no one will get upset. There's very much intention to them. So this is Jesus before Caiaphas in the Sanhedrin. Okay? So this is Jesus' trial. During this, they brought out people to testify falsely against Jesus. It says, Mark has it. This is Mark 14:56. You see in the Harmony on page 215. Many testified falsely against him, but their statements did not agree. So, like, these are lies being made up about Jesus. Some people they've brought in like, oh, this guy will say something bad about Jesus, but it's not even clear. And then it says, then some stood up, gave false testimony against him. They say, we've heard him say this, I will destroy this man-made temple, and in 3 days I'll build another one, not made by man, which is something Jesus did say, destroy this temple, I'll rebuild it in 3 days. So they're like, he made claims to destroy the temple. What was Jesus talking about? His body, which is about to happen. Destroy this temple, and I will bring it back in 3 days. So he was not. So they're trying to like get Jesus on things that he said to like be a rebel or to to do, like they're trying to point out things he did illegal. Now, did Jesus break any laws? No, he didn't even do any sin. So like they're having a hard time in this trial before Jesus. Even people who are lying, it's not making sense.
There's a word for that. Like they're telling half truths.
Yes.
They're making it seem like he did something.
Yeah, like that statement they quoted, he did say, but he wasn't saying like, rise up and tear down the temple. Like he
Well,
wasn't
it's
stirring a
interesting.
revolt. Yes, Addie?
But after it says about the temple, it says yet they didn't, even then their testimony did not agree, so they didn't
Yeah.
agree on that.
Nothing is making sense. They're trying their best to get Jesus in trouble because they just hate him so much, but there's absolutely nothing that he's done wrong. There's nothing they can convict him of. They have no case against Jesus, which makes this whole thing, it's a night trial. He's arrested in the middle of the night. They're afraid of the crowds. They have no case against him. It's just so wild that they actually get through with this and sentence him to death. Because everything's really against them. There is no case except for this is God's will and God's plan. So it goes down this way. He says, the high priest charges him under oath by the living God. This is in Matthew 64. Tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. Yes, it is as you say, Jesus replied. But I tell all of you, in the future you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One coming on the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, he has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now that you have heard blasphemy, what do you think? He is worthy of death, they answered. They spit in his face and struck him with their fists. Others slapped him and said, prophesy to us, Christ, who hit you? So they're mocking him. They're saying he is blaspheming by claiming to be God, which he is. And if he wasn't God, this is blasphemy. If Jesus, for me or you to claim to make this claim Jesus is making is blasphemy, to claim to be God. But so blasphemy is to claim to be God or to claim something that is from God that isn't.
Is
So you're.
is it always God? So like can you blaspheme like?
I guess you could blaspheme someone else's name.
So
This
does somebody
is
think?
blasphemy of
So
God.
some people might think there's certain versions of the Bible are blasphemy, but they're probably not.
Maybe.
I'll read the definition. Is the act of insulting, showing contempt, or expressing a lack of reverence for a deity, sacred objects, or things considered inviolable.
Yeah.
It involves mocking or denouncing the divine, and it can be committed through speech, writing, or deliberate actions.
So his claim, yes, Dad?
You know what the Muslims are always accusing the Christians
Right.
of being blasphemous because they're talking about Jesus instead of Allah.
Right. So what I'm trying to say is, if this wasn't true, if Jesus wasn't God, it would be blasphemy. So this is the grounds that they would have against Jesus. These are religious grounds, they're not breaking any real laws except for religious laws. He's claiming to be God, and that is blasphemy if it's not true. But the fact that it's true of Jesus it makes it not blasphemy because he's telling the truth. He's not lying that he's from God and one with the Father. It's true that is the case. So, but that upsets them. They all are shouting that he's worthy of death. Okay, here's the problem. The Jews are not the supreme authorities in Jerusalem right now. Who is over the government over the Jews right now?
The Romans.
The Romans. So one of the laws, so they have a little bit of power. This is how the Romans set up. They conquered a nation. They gave them their own government and their little bit, but the Roman government was over. Like the Greeks tried to enforce their laws and their rules, and that was not as successful. The Romans, in allowing these countries to have kind of their own system of government, was actually pretty successful for the Roman Empire to also have power and also tax them. But they still had ultimate authority. So the Jews cannot do one thing. Even though they have this court of law, they can say, it deals with religious things and lawbreakers, but they cannot sentence someone to death. So if the Romans wouldn't have been there, it probably would have been over right now. They would have killed Jesus. They could have said, the high court saw him and we sentenced him to death. So they now need to get the Romans involved. So this is now why there's more trials, and it goes to Pilate. But Side note, who is in the courtyard? Look at the next page. Look at 317. Who's in the courtyard? Peter's in the courtyard, okay? Now, once again, like we looked at when Peter stepped out of the boat and walked on water and he gets a lot of shame thrown at him because he sunk, he didn't have faith. Where were all the other disciples at that story?
On the boat.
Still in the boat. Peter was the only one walking out in faith. Well, another thing, we do see John at the foot of the cross, but all the other disciples, where are they? They're hiding. So Peter has enough boldness to show up near where Jesus is being tried, but what did Jesus say at the dinner?
You will deny me 3 times.
Times. This night, before the rooster crows, right? Like, Peter's like, how could that ever happen? Like, I am on fire for you. I'm willing to cut some guy's ear off for you. I will fight to the death for you. But here's how it plays out. So Peter is nearby, following at him at a distance. What?
What page you know?
217. He up to the courtyard of the high priest. He entered, and he sat down with the guards. I'm reading through Matthew here. Now Peter was sitting in the courtyard, and a servant girl to him. You are also with Jesus of Galilee, she said. But he denied it before them all. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. Then he went into the gateway where another girl saw him, the people there. This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth. I'm on 218 now. He denied it again with an oath. I don't know this man. After a little while, those standing up with Peter said, surely you are one of them, for your accent gives you away. What kind of accent would he have?
Galilee.
British.
Yeah, so he's from the north. Peter's up from Galilee. British. That's what all the movies, the disciples have British accents. No. So he would have had a Galilean accent. Jesus was also from that region. Remember, most of the disciples from there. He says, your accent gives you away. He says, then he began to call down curses on himself, and he swore to them, don't know the man. Immediately, what happens?
Rooster crows.
A rooster crows. Oh, can you imagine what's going through Peter's head right now? Peter remembered the words that Jesus had spoken before the rooster crows. You will disown me 3 times. He went outside and wept bitterly. So Peter goes to these, this is Peter, classic Peter, emotional extremes. He's willing to, cut a guy's ear off, fight to the death for Jesus. Then Jesus is like, no, we're not doing that. And he heals the guy that he just attacked. And is trying to stay close with Jesus, trying to do everything he can to be with Jesus. And then, he's trying to keep his... Why do you think Peter did this? What was going through Peter's head as he denies Christ 3 times?
You didn't want to die?
Yeah.
Get arrested.
He's trying to, be, sly and secret. He's trying to be there in secret. He doesn't want to get revealed for who he is. One of Jesus' closest followers. And so in his mind, but then what is he actually doing? Denying Christ, that he even knows him. And so this boldness of Peter, he doesn't even realize it, even though Jesus just told him about it. So much has happened since then, right? Even though it's only hours later, that it's not even in his mind until the rooster crows. And he's calling down curses on himself, swearing with oaths, just like, I swear on my mother's grave, or I don't know what he's saying. But
Was Peter at
Big toe.
the Mount of,
Transfiguration?
No, Jesus is talking about in Matthew 5.
Oh yeah, he said don't swear by any other name. Yeah,
Peter,
but he's trying so hard to stay undercover and stay with Jesus and not get arrested that he doesn't realize that he's denying Jesus 3 times.
Mark says the rooster crowed a second time.
Oh, yeah.
Versus all the other ones say the rooster began to crow.
Right, 'cause
Oh, yeah.
Jesus announced the morning over a little bit of a period
Right,
of
so there's a
time.
little difference in
Yeah.
because Mark has Jesus said before the rooster crows twice, you'll disown me 3 times.
And immediately the rooster crowed a second time.
So there's before the rooster crows today. So yeah, there's some differences there. Mark to Luke. Interesting.
Mark to the rest of them.
Oh, Mark to Matthew and Luke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and John has. So
They all say ones except for Mark.
He's chilling.
Where does it says be?
well, interesting.
It doesn't necessarily.
Mark, we generally ascribe Mark to being whose perspective?
Him, his own.
Because Mark was not one of the disciples.
Right. Interviews.
Oh, Luke. No. I know who it is.
Peter.
I can't remember.
It's Peter.
That,
It's
yeah.
Peter.
Yeah.
So Mark and Peter were
This is probably the most
companions,
accurate, then.
and Peter was probably illiterate and couldn't write, and so we think that likely Mark wrote down the book of Mark from Peter's more direct perspective because they were close. We don't know that for sure. That's not what it says, but that's what we assume based on circumstances of where Mark got his story. So,
But we do think that the author of Mark will reveal that kid in the garden who ran away naked.
yeah, I didn't get to that, but that's possibly him.
I was wondering. I was thinking about asking. I was like, do we know?
In the garden, if you want to jump back to that, it's so funny. Only Mark has a story about a little boy in the Garden of Gethsemane hiding with a sheet on, and some people think that that was actually Mark as a little boy.
I thought that was Luke.
No, Mark, 'cause it's only in the book of Mark.
Was following Jesus when
Well,
they
just
see
because
him, he
it's-
fled naked, leaving his garment behind.
Just because it's
From Peter's perspective doesn't mean that Mark didn't add stuff.
Right.
Like
Mark
like
was the
he-
author.
Peter would know if he can't
Yeah,
write.
but
so.
that's why we think it's Mark. It's because it's only in Mark.
And also, like, why else would you put that in there?
It's such a random detail.
Like, there's
It
that
shows up
doesn't
nowhere
really
else.
help like, the story.
I think it's Mark just being like, I was there, guys.
It doesn't really have anything to do with
I know, it doesn't. It's such a random
But
detail.
why was his sheet taken from him? Were they like, get out
Because
of
they
here?
tried to grab him, and so it's like Joseph. They grabbed his clothes, and then I think he might have been in the house. This is my theory. He was in the house where they were having the Last Supper, and then like he's tucked in bed, like a 9-year-old, and then and then he hears he wakes up. The disciples are leaving. He's like, I want to follow them. He just like is naked and in his bed sheet and just like follows them to the garden and was like hiding in the bush. And then like Jesus gets arrested. He's like, oh man, Peter cuts off the ear. He's like, oh dude. And then like they all scatter. He's like, oh no. And then the guard's like, hey, what are you doing, kid? And tries to grab him. And then he runs away naked. That's my theory. Anyway, it's hilarious.
Figure it out.
Okay, so whoa, we're running out of time.
I know. I was.
We got a couple more trials. This is what's crazy. So who does he go to next? The Romans, right? Who's in charge? Who's the governor of this area? Pilate. So Jesus goes to Pilate. Pilate kind of has this trial with him, asks him some questions. I don't have time to get into the details. He's like asking things about him. Then he finds out that Jesus is from Galilee. And guess who's in town?
Somebody from Galilee.
Someone from Galilee. Who?
Mary Joseph.
Who? The ruler from Galilee. Herod.
That one.
So King Herod, there's 3 Herods at this time. The Herod from the north is there. He's in town, so he's like, go see Herod. So Herod Antipas, on hearing this, Pilate asked if the man was Galilean. We learned that Jesus was under Herod's jurisdiction. So that they're trying to pass the buck. The Romans don't know what to do with this guy. The Jews are like, he broke our rules. And so he's like, I don't know what to do with you, but all these people are mad at me, so go see Herod. You're Herod's problem. He goes to see Herod. Jesus doesn't say a word to Herod. He is silent. He doesn't say anything, even though Herod's trying to get him to do magic tricks and stuff, do miracles. But Jesus will not do it. So then Herod sends him back to Pilate. So we have page 223, the third Roman phase before Pilate again. So this is when Pilate is like trying to deal with the Sanhedrin that's trying to kill Jesus. He's like, basically Pilate says, I don't find anything wrong with this man. Like there's nothing he's done wrong. He hasn't broken any laws. Even this is what's so crazy. And I wonder why God did this way, because it's almost like God is trying to stop his own plan. But Pilate's wife has a dream. Do you remember this? Where is it? Pilate's wife has a dream where it's like, this man is innocent. You shouldn't kill him. Where is it? Anyway, it's not super important. But it's like all this is going on to really validate that Jesus was innocent and this trial was totally a farce. But it was also God's plan and God's will for him to be tried. Pilate, does this classic thing. There's lots of stories about this where he washes his hands of the whole thing. He offers up Barabbas. He's like, he's trying to get out of it over and over. He's trying to do everything he can because he ultimately doesn't want to kill Jesus. He doesn't think that Jesus is guilty. He does it because this crowd is so angry. And the leaders have paid people to be like shouting. These are probably the same people that were shouting to welcome Jesus on the Palm Sunday. Like they all have welcomed Jesus as their leader. And now they're yelling for Jesus to be crucified. Crucify him. But this is John 18 on page 225. Pilate answered, you take him away and crucify him. As for me, I find no basis for charge against this man. When the Jews insisted, we have a law. According to the law, he must die because he claimed to be the Son of God. When Pilate heard this, he was even more afraid. He went inside the palace. and he talks to Jesus more. Finally, this is the end of John 19:16, and page 226. Finally, Pilate handed him over to be crucified. So all this happens. Pilate's role in this is very interesting, but ultimately Pilate sentences him to death, and the Romans kill him.
Did we not mention the fact that he had been flogged and humiliated? Or did I
That's
miss
right.
that?
I
Like,
didn't
just
say
to,
that.
like, appease him. He's like, you know
Yes,
what?
well, he
He's
even
so
tries that.
innocent.
He's like, okay, I'll just have him flogged, and maybe that will they'll see. Oh, we like that the
Discipline.
justice was served. Like we hate this guy so much, but at least he got beat. He got what he deserved. He's trying not to kill him. He's even flogging him because it's like, why would you flog a guy before you kill him? It's like that's like torture. That's ridiculous. But what Pilate was trying to do was like, here, maybe this is enough punishment for you crazy crowd that wants to kill him. But no, it wasn't enough. They wanted him dead. So thank you for bringing that up. So Jesus is sentenced to be crucified. There's at least 2 other men that are also going to be crucified. He has to carry his cross. Jesus is so weak from being beaten and all that he's gone through. He can't carry the cross. There's another guy named Simon the Cyrene, which is, I think is part of
He
Africa.
also just hasn't slept. Can we talk about this? That like they
That's what
never
I
went
just
to
said.
bed. Oh, you just said that?
Yeah.
Good job.
So they make Simon carry the cross for Jesus because I don't know if it was the whole cross or at least the cross bar that he would carry. It's like humiliation. Like you have to carry the thing that's going to kill you all the way. So Simon helps him and carries the cross. People are weeping. You know, we find Mary, his mother, Mary Magdalene, and others are at the cross. Oh, we still have so much to get through. But he's finally crucified, you know, nails through his hands and feet, lifted up on the cross. This is the Roman way of execution. There's a few reasons for this. People say it's probably the worst way to die because it's so slow. You don't die of blood loss. You don't die of any of the nails or anything. That's not what kills you. It's ultimately you die of suffocation, of hanging there on the cross for so long. It can take days. You can be up there for days. It's also very public. The Romans wanted the people, they would do this on like crossroads where all these people would be walking by. You'd also probably be naked. It'd be humiliating. And that the Romans wanted the people to fear the Roman government and be like, oh man, if I go against the Romans, that will happen to me. It's a very public display of the punishments if you go against the Romans. So that's what all the things about crucifixion was. There's one difference to this crucifixion. There's also the thief on the cross, which is such an amazing story because there's one thief who's mocking Jesus and then one thief who's defending Jesus. And Jesus tells that man who's defending Jesus, you will be with me today in paradise, which is such a beautiful thing because this man, it just shows the gospel so clearly that this man is saved by believing in Jesus and nothing else. He didn't go to church. He didn't get baptized. He didn't take communion. He didn't ever help an old lady across the street. Like he never earns his salvation in any way. He's a sinner that is being killed for his crimes, like so a bad guy. And then he puts faith in Jesus, and he's going to go to heaven, which is amazing. All right. What day is this?
Friday.
It's Friday. What's the next day? What's special about this Saturday?
Yeah, someone said it.
So, Sabbath is the holy day for Jews. So, basically, to make this go quicker, remember I said it could go days, they go and break the legs of the people on the cross because like I said, eventually you run out of strength to keep breathing. So you have to like lift up on the nails to take a breath because like all this force is on your chest. And when you're hanging there, you have to like lift up to be able to even breathe. And ultimately you run out of strength to lift up to be able to breathe. And so you almost die over and over. It's so terrible. Jesus ends up dying. There's an earthquake, there's darkness, so much crazy stuff is happening. And they go to make it happen quicker by breaking the legs of the people on the cross. They find that Jesus is already dead. They pierce him through his side up into his heart. His blood has already separated into blood and water, and they determine that he is fully and completely dead. So they don't break his legs.
Which is prophetic.
Yes, that Jesus wouldn't break any bones, which is interesting because he almost broke bone. They almost broke his bones. Jesus says a few things. I skipped that. He says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know what they do."
They do not know what they're doing.
They do not know what they do. He says, "I'm thirsty." They try to give him a sponge with some wine vinegar. And then, what is Jesus' last words?
It is
It's
finished.
finished. Yeah.
It's finished. And with that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. That's what John says. And so, and then what happens in the temple?
The curtain
The
tears.
curtain tears in two that separates the Holy of Holies. Priests only go back there once a year, and then that rips. Then to centurion, so the guy over the Roman soldier, sees what has happened. John says, "Praise God," and says, "Surely this was a righteous man." Wow. So all those things that happened.
Right, and he's not going to say he's the Messiah because he's just a centurion, not even thinking outside. But he's just like, surely this man was special. This man didn't deserve what.
Okay, now they bury him, and this is going to be the last thing we do today. They bury him. Where do they bury him? It's also to fulfill prophecy
In Joseph's tomb.
in Joseph of Arimathea's new tomb, a tomb that's never been used. So it might seem weird, like a new grave, but they would often it's like a maybe like those buildings you see at a crypt or thing that you see at some big cemeteries where there's multiple remains of people in there. This would have been a brand new one.
Yeah, so like families would, as people would die, you would add them in to the same room, and as they decayed, eventually you would like move the bones into an area, and you would continue to put the same family unit into the same crypt.
So John has Joseph of Arimathea asking Pilate for Jesus' body. Joseph was a disciple of Jesus, but in secret because he feared the Jews. So this is probably a rich guy, Joseph of Arimathea. With Pilate's permission, he came and took away the body. Guess who else shows up?
My favorite.
He was accompanied by, look at the bottom of 235 in John.
He's a Pharisee.
Oh,
starts with a
Jesus
J, right?
questions. Nope, with an N.
Look it up.
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus.
That night.
Nicodemus. So from Nicodemus, from John 3:16, Nicodemus. Nicodemus, who had earlier visited Jesus at night, he brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, 75 pounds, to prepare his body. And they wrapped it and they buried him with it. And women who had come with Jesus from Galilee followed Joseph, saw the tomb and how his body was laid in it, and then they went home and prepared spices. But they couldn't go back because the next day was the Sabbath. So what day did they go back? Sunday.
What happens on Sunday?
I don't know.
Yeah, let's come back next
We
week.
have to stop.
Don't spoil
We
it.
don't know what's going to happen. All right, 10:50. Okay, how Jesus willingly endured humiliation and suffering, and he laid down his life to save humankind. At any moment, Jesus could have used his power to destroy everybody. He said two words and knocked over a whole crowd. Do you think Jesus could have gotten out of this?
He said no words and healed people.
Jesus had all the power. He willingly did this. That's what I want you to get. He went through all of that horrible stuff we talked about willingly. He could have used his power to totally destroy Pilate, to
And
destroy
this
the armies,
reflects
anything.
his time in the desert when he was fasting. Satan was like, you could do all these things, and he's like, I'm not.
Yeah. Why did he do it? He didn't want to. We saw in the garden he was praying for this cup to be removed. Why did he do it?
Save us.
Yes? But who was he obeying?
His boss.
God the Father. He was doing the will of God the Father. So this is a model for us too. Do you think we'll have to do things for God that we don't want to do?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So Jesus models true servant leadership, laying down his life for his friends. The
And
Bible
obey.
says no man has greater love than this, than someone who'd lay down his life for his friends.
And obeys God.
Yeah.
You brought that out.
All right, for us, are you willing to put blank? No?
Because read the rest.
Before the cross.
Others.
Are you willing to put others' needs, comforts, and wishes
Before your
before
Yourself.
yours? Yes. Like, Jesus did not put everyone else's needs, comforts, and wishes before his own.
He said he didn't. He did.
He did.
Yeah, okay.
Are you willing to do that? That's what Jesus was modeling, is laying down his life, is putting other people first, and obedience to God. So, amazing that Jesus went through that. Like, that would be such the strongest temptation maybe ever in his life, would be to, like, get out of that. I don't know. That's so crazy. Like, you know, you think about his temptation in the desert, he was hungry. This is the temptation to, like, save yourself. Like, that's the strongest physical urge we have is our, like, physical bodies, like, to keep living and to survive. Right? Like, survival is one of the strongest instincts that we have. And Jesus set that aside to sacrifice himself because he could have gotten out of it by his power. Pretty amazing. All right. Come back next week to find out what happens to Jesus. Woo!